Hello and good morning, listeners, watchers. It's very nice to be here this morning with my morning coffee, sponsored by Coda Led Zeppelin. Delicious. I have to remember to stay on mic, sorry. Yes, I thought the reason for this, and not one of those pre-recorded ones, I pre-recorded the book reading because book reading is much harder than I realised. It's much harder than singing songs to camera, and it's much harder than being interviewed by someone on camera, and it's harder than, sitting here with Chris making bants. So I did those, and I hope you enjoy them and continue to share them. But the one reserved for today was going to be childhood. I was going to save my childhood for last, but when I was editing it, it felt a little bit raw and a little bit vulnerable. It was one thing reading it off the page in my book, but it's another thing just putting it out there. And since there wasn't a massive crowd of people watching on time, I would feel a bit lonely in the chat. So good morning. We have James, we have Sally, we have Chris. Who's Chris Thomas? I don't know any Chris Thomas. And Alan, I believe. Fantastic. So yes, well represented across the UK so far, and I'll leave this up for a little while. I've got a question already from James. I'll start just showing you the childhood thing that it's vulnerable because it's public and private at the same time. So there's me and my brother, let's say, at the desk of Good Earth Studios, and he's got his finger on the red fader, and I'm looking very anxiously at him like, please don't. I always knew the dangers of actually touching the wrong button in the studio. He has so many horror stories. But yeah, it goes through my birth, and I've done this because my dad put in his book how I was born, and that there was basically going into the surgery or whatever, wherever you give birth, a big envelope full of utensils marked abnormal, and I think he thought I was going to come out with 3 heads or something, but I was simply upside down, feet first, and ready to come into the world onto the stage. So that's why I've put these things in here, because it's already out in the public. That's, like I said, there was a press clipping I found in some paperwork for a job I was doing, completely unrelated job in health and social care. There was a press clipping of my birth in there, and I found other things in Boss's in trays, like, oh, do you think we could get Mary to donate a guitar to the fund where I was working as a social worker at the time. So this boundaries in my life have never been clear, and I don't know the way around it, except for to write it down in a book and to carry on making music, and also to carry on doing things I enjoy doing elsewhere, like Alexander Technique, which I think is where all those health and social care jobs were leading, like my master's in homelessness, essentially, and then health and social care, working with benefits, things like that. So that's what I do now, and I think all my worlds are colliding, really, like a kaleidoscope. This chapter goes through things like when we got IQ tested, when we were kids, doing ballet lessons at Woodcliff Hall, where I went to school, my first gigs, doing my old man said follow the van, things like that. Learning the guitar, getting my first guitar, which I still have. There's my so things are moving in here. There's my birth, and there's my dad feeding me at the Honky Chateau. He's even wearing the t-shirt, Le Chateau d'Hérouville. My first saxophone, how David Bowie bought us a dining table and some crockery. I don't think I was there at the time, but still I remember the table very well, and someone else has that now. My first ventures into commercial music, the first albums I bought, my Walkman, and then how I grew up, between London and Shiplake, basically, weekends with my dad in the studio, and the rest of the time at home with my mum, my brother, and all the weird things that happened, which again, it's all in my dad's book and is all on the internet for everyone to see. So it's important to put down your own perspective. What does all this amount to? Expectations, I guess, being a progeny, a nepo baby. Your life is public, and people accuse, they say they know all about you, which is why I wrote that song, Public Property. And they make assumptions based on what your parents are like. So if dad's one way, they think I am. If mum's another way, they think I am too. I'm sure Morgan gets this as well. It includes why I changed my name. I grew up fairly normal, despite everything. There's the happy family together right at the beginning. So it's vulnerable, but I put it in there because it has a direct relevance of how I deal with the music industry now, that I did try. And so I have had lots of other jobs other than music. Yes, I have. There's a whole list, jobs what I have had, right in the front, and then again it's repeated in the day job. I've been a life model. I've been worked at a garden centre, a curtain shop, a puppet theatre barge, a barmaid. I edited a good software guide for a while, which is hilarious considering what I know about software. I've done many office temp jobs, health and social care, engagement, blah blah blah. Wedding photography assistant. Yeah, at one point I was shooting weddings, like second shooter with Paul Cornish, who did the cover for my I Am Not album. I haven't made everything terribly clear. I probably could go through and make this book twice as long, but you have to decide on what's relevant. Good morning to Q and Gary, who've just joined us. How wonderful. There will be a proper show at 12 o'clock. Going back, circling now to James's question on why I'm not making vinyl. This thing I have against vinyl. And you can ask my dad the same question. And I think my mum would agree as well, and we'd all agree that it doesn't flipping matter what your music comes out on, really. When CDs came out, if you remember, that was the big seismic shift for my generation. CDs, we started on cassettes, and then CDs came out. We were like, whoa, you can cover them in jam and draw around the edges in green marker pen and they'll sound better, and you can skip tracks really easily, and then you can compile things really easily, and it did sound better. But then other people were like, ooh, it sounds terrible. And that's because music wasn't mastered for CDs when it first came out. So if you take a CD that was released right at the beginning and play it against a CD that's released now, the original one will sound really, really quiet because it was mastered for vinyl. And vinyl being a different medium, literally bits of plastic carved up to replicate the sound waves, you have to master the music differently. You have to treat, so once you've done your recording, you have to treat it differently so it sounds good, to take into account the physical constraints of the vinyl. And they just basically took those tracks and then dumped them onto CDs initially. So that's why they didn't sound good. So it kind of had a backlash. But now, of course, people are mastering for CD, and they're mastering for iTunes, and it's different mastering processes for all of these. Added to the fact that when you've got digital recording, which has basically nothing in between, no physical limitations in between the voice and the medium of listening at the end. It doesn't put any kind of plastic wobbles or dust or dirt or crackles or compression in, unless you put those things in. Why would you then go back to vinyl, which is an imperfect medium, like cassette was an imperfect medium? And it degrades and it puts hiss on. So really, all those performances that we try so hard to make the best, you want it to go out to your listener on the best format possible. And to me, vinyl is imperfect. People love it because it's what was around at the time. But I mean, what's next? People are actually releasing their albums on cassette again. I mean, for God's sake. I had this idea that, my mum's got a whole stack of, cassettes in the loft, old cassettes, old tapes that we used to send out and things like that. I thought I could record an album on the 8-track Porter Studio that I've got, and then record them onto those cassettes and sell them. So my music, you could probably hear bits of, what was ever on the cassette before, and people go nuts for that kind of thing. But really, it's flipping stupid because, and again, it's in the book. There's a whole chapter on formats, and basically everything I've just said. So the history of the formats: vinyl, CDs, cassettes, digital, and then it will go on to later on in the book how copyright is arranged and the recording process, and it's all in here because it's important to us as a family. It's our family trade, my dad couldn't wait to get off the big 2-inch reels and tape, which would break and fly off, and you had to chop it with a razor blade and flick chalk at it and stuff. When Pro Tools came out, he was like, great, this is what I wanted all along. Why would I go back to that flipping medium? I think the only good thing about recording to tape, is that you have to get it right pretty quick because the tape degrades. There have been stories like Fleetwood Mac's Rumours. It degrades, and they had to copy it. They could see through the tape. They did so many overdubs that the oxide simply wore off. I mean, you can tell I could bore for England on this subject, and we have talked about it, I must say, at this point on many of our Space Bar radio shows, which are available on our Mixcloud. So go and have a look, and we'll be talking more about this, no doubt, on it. So, James, I hope that's, And also, plastic, oil, resources, microplastics, and people are making recycled vinyl now, but it's not recycled from plastic bottles. It's recycled from the bits that fall off the first pressing of the records. They sweep them up and then they recycle them. It's not recycled plastic, really. It's just greenwashing. So, I think the best thing about vinyl possibly is the big cover. And again, using more cardboard, so... The ritual is enjoyable, yes. I'd rather play the vinyls of old days, yes. My mum she got hold of a 78s player that you had to wind up, and she got some, listening to the old classical things. I know she has very lovely memories when she was a kid of playing these 78s classical pieces, and she'd dance around the room, and it's because that's all there was, or they were already in the house. That's why she likes them, So that's me ranting. Friends hangout. Oh, cute. I'm so glad. Is it really like I know it's me doing all the talking, but you can chime in wherever you like. Any more questions if you want. So yeah, physicality. Yes. And for that reason, when I pick up the CDs tomorrow, there are lyrics. I said to Chris, should I put a lyric book in? And he said yes. So there are lyrics in there. I hope they're big enough to read. If not, I will send you a large print version on Word or something. So yeah. So, and even then, like when we started making, I've got to remember we've got a show to do at 12. When we started making CDs, the cheapest option for replication was jewel cases. And you remember how those break, the bits in the middle break and they crack and all that, and when you can't send them because they break as well sometimes. And so eventually I bit the bullet and said we would order the cardboard sleeves. So they're nice little cardboard gatefold cardboard. You can do the artwork to include that, and then I do get them shrink wrapped because they're going to sit in the loft or the garage or whatever for a while. So why wouldn't I protect my stock? For one thing, by the time they get to me, quite often FedEx have thrown them around the van, and the ones in the corners get dented. So I have to sell those on eBay because they've got creases. And if they were jewel cases, they'd be cracked anyway. So. God, I don't half waffle on. Didn't know that about recycled value. Yeah, anything you hear about recycled, just look at it. It's usually greenwashing. It's like Coldplay saying, we're gonna not tour because it's ecologically unsound. It's ecologically unsound because they go on tour with 50 articulated trucks. If they went on tour in a little diesel van like we do and sleep in the back, it wouldn't be ecologically unsound. It's effing ridiculous greenwashing. So I think we need to be honest with ourselves in the music industry. How do artists earn their best these days? Physical media over streaming. Physical media is still good. Right, here's the breakdown. I can sell a CD to you for £10, and the CD unit cost that I pay to the guy who makes them, Phil at MTS, and he gets them made in Poland, I believe. They're like £2 a pop, say. So I sell it to you, and we're so tiny we're not even VAT registered. So I sell it to you, I get £8 for all my hard work. That's then up to me that I divvy out between whoever's helped on the album. Streaming, Spotify earns nothing. So my mum, with Those Were the Days, can earn, say, £100 or so a month on Spotify, because we're the rights holders for a couple of versions. Apple still own the original version. We own other versions that make money. But that's after about, 250,000 streams a month. 250,000 streams. And you get £100. So YouTube pays a little bit better. Streaming albums on YouTube earns a bit better. And again, it's all in the book. Digital rights, our digital rights managers make sure that all these things are distributed and then received. So it's not ideal. I'd rather we were all on Spotify, I guess, which is trackable. I get notifications of where it's been played and streamed and everything. Than on, if it wasn't on Spotify, it would just go to these Russian sites or Japanese sites, which are completely untrackable. Then it's completely out of my hands. So unfortunately, it's better the devil you know. If you're Neil Young or, I don't know, Led Zeppelin or huge names, you can probably make a stand and boot and boycott. But CDs are best, and be guided by the artist. If the artist says, buy my CD, it's best, and that's what they want, then do it. If they say, please stream my album here, then do it. Ask them what they want. I think that's the best way to support people. iTunes is all right. I think you can still download on iTunes. I think. I should know all this, but there's a lot to keep track of. I think you can still download. We have a digital download. Like I say, our rights management people, they put up a Greed Bag store, and you can still download WAVs, which are good quality, or MP3s, which are slightly less good quality. And again, we get paid at like £7 per album download. So that's good for us as well. Streaming isn't good for us, but I don't buy many albums, to be honest. I accept that people want to stream. So that's why we're on those services. So, it's not black or white argument, just to say that streaming companies do not have artists in their best interests at all, because they're not musicians. There was that AI, the boss of something or other said, people don't really enjoy making music, so I'm just going to make them generate it instead. And it's like, you clearly don't understand the whole creative process. I'm going to go on and on. Like I say, watch our old space bar shows as well, because we do bang on about this in great detail, and it's all in there. Bandcamp Q is really good too. They do these Bandcamp Fridays where they don't take any fees, and that's good because you're in a mix. Then you're in a mix of other people. I think you can get curated onto lists and things like that. So Bandcamp's quite good. The only thing is that they can't really upload original stuff. So if we have any covers on our albums, or if it was a covers album, essentially like my mum's archive albums, when most of them were written by other people. They said don't do it because they don't have a distribution thing in place. So I probably put this album on Bandcamp, but they do take 10% when they take it. Whereas if you buy it directly from me, I get all the money. And I do have a Square. That's why I set up the Square site. Gosh, this is going more easily than I thought. I just want to change this topic slightly now, because like I say, that's the book. That's the book, and it will be available on a digital PDF version when the digital album comes out in a couple of weeks, and also I'll do it on the Kindle, possibly an audiobook as well. That might take some time. In the book, I talk about friends, famous friends, because everyone loves to hear about the famous friends, and memorabilia as well. So this is an example. This is a ukulele. There used to be two. My mum had two of them. It's it's a nice toy ukulele. It's a very nice one, actually. I think it says, what does it say inside? B&M, like the like the bargain stores, but it wasn't. What does it say inside? It says B&M Champion, made in Japan. And George Harrison used to pop round for tea now and again. It's in the book. And my mum said, big ukulele fan he is, George Formby fan. He loves his ukuleles. Of course, he's probably had them that cost hundreds, thousands of pounds or whatever. And my mum said, could you restring this? So she got the strings, and he put the strings on. And he said, it's a toy, don't you, Mary? And she's like, well, duh, of course. But anyway, this is the ukulele that George Harrison strung. So as a ukulele, he tied these knots. As a ukulele, it's probably worth about, 50 quid, because it's a vintage. It's not a bad one. It doesn't hold its tuning well. But George Harrison strung it. He touched it, and he played it. So now what's it worth? It's a bit ridiculous when you think about it. The idea of provenance. You can have a guitar that's worth, £1,000. And somebody signs it. I don't like these signed guitars. They just buy, a cheap vendor or something and get all these rock stars to sign it. Now you've got a guitar that you could quite easily clean it all off with with some rubbing alcohol. It's very strange, isn't it? It's very strange. So we've sold a few bits of Mary's over the years. There's a guitar that George Harrison gave her, which is a Ramirez lovely classical guitar. But he admitted later on it wasn't really suited to her. She's needs a folk guitar, which has a narrower neck. So we sold it, and I heard that it went to a Hard Rock Cafe in a glass case, but then somebody later on said, my friend says, I can't remember now, he knows where that guitar is, and it's not in the Hard Rock Cafe, it's in the hands of a guitarist. So it's strange. Even I sold an early 12-string that I got for 250 quid on Facebook Marketplace when I took over 12-string in Holy Holy. Nice Simon and Patrick Canadian spruce model. And I sold it because I got Auden lent me one. They gave me the black one, and they gave me this 12-string to play. And so I sold that, and he said, oh, I'm going to take it to a Holy Holy gig and get you all to sign it and hang it on my wall. I was like, no, just play it, for God's sake. It's a guitar. It's a nice guitar. I find that thing very, very strange. Anyway, so this is that's the ukulele. It's not bad. It's hard. Doesn't hold its tuning well though. But so anyway, when I did the Beatles Complete on ukulele, my dad took me to Denmark Street when most of it was still there, and got me a nice concert ukulele. Middling price. Certainly not as valuable as some of George's probably, but he was tuning it up. So he's been playing since he was 5, so that's 75 years. And the guy behind the counter just saw this man with, white hair and glasses and said, would you like some help with that, sir? He didn't know who he was talking to. Yes. And I just wanted to show you something else as well. I should have brought the album cover to show you, but this is why I like what we've built up, is so in the book talks about the gypsy caravan that was in the garden in Wargrave and then came to Shiplake with us. But while it was still in Wargrave, I remember this day I had a pink kind of gypsy frock on, and I remember putting these on, And Morgan and I sat on the steps of the Gypsy Caravan, and my mum painted us. And that painting then became the cover of Now and Then, which was this third archive album that we put out. So it's nice. Things are full circle, So those are my welly boots. I think they might fit Alexander here or Winnie. This is Winnie, my childhood bear. He's been with me a long time. And this is Alexander, who joined me at the end of my Alexander course, given to me by my colleague Christine. So he's in charge of well-being. So yeah, it's part of our crew for you. I'm going to stop there because it's nearly half an hour of whiffle, waffle. Any questions before I go? What's Martin Lewis says, all our wittering about this stuff is, yes, exactly. Bandcamp. No, Mixcloud. Yeah, Mixcloud it is. And I think we want to get the podcasts on to something else. I was also thinking of doing Zoom hangouts, bit of Alexander technique, bit of talking, because they're gonna ditch Skype. I'm gutted. I think this has given us a refresh as well of our live streaming, so that's really nice. I much prefer to listen to an album in full, whether it's on vinyl or CD. I don't stream anything at all. Yeah, good call, Martin. So it doesn't really matter. And you can stream them in full. You can buy the downloads and play them. In fact, Adele, we thank Ed Sheeran for the copyright thing. We thank Adele for taking, I think we should do something about the shuffle feature. She says, you agonise over the order of your songs on an album, and that's how you want people to listen to it. So this album that we've been playing, this tour, is in the order that you'll get it on the CD. It's in that order for a certain reason, and it does emulate the two sides of an album. So yeah. So nothing is taken lightly, certainly not in my family, not on my record label, maybe in other areas of the pop world. Did I find out about the pillow? Oh yeah, Q asked me about the pillows. If you ran out of questions, you can talk about pillows. My pupil, one of my pupils, she's been coming to me for about a year now, and she's quite rigorous in her homework, let's say. And she's been, I think, buying a lot of different neck pillows, orthopedic pillows, for sleeping, obviously. And she said, "What would you recommend?" And I said, "You really need to publish a list. We can tell everyone." If you have trouble sleeping, I used to have one of those pillows that dip in the middle. They're kind of like hard foam. The thing you want is for your neck to be in line with your back as you would normally stand. So stand against a wall. Here's the best thing. Stand against a wall, and if you can, get somebody to measure the distance between your head, where it rests naturally, and the wall. And when you lie down on the floor and doing your constructive rest, that's the height of the books that you want. That's the rule of thumb. And you want the same to be when you're sleeping. You want a pillow to hold your head at that height. When you sleep on your side, the pillow has to be higher, because if it was the same height, your head would flop over like this, so you put strain on your neck. So you want it higher on the sides and lower on the back. So that's what you've got to work out. It's just to be aware of how your neck is straight in line with your spine and your head. Obviously the best thing is to come for Alexander lessons. I do offer them online. So yeah, do try them, but don't fall for all the extra marketing. Just basically being aware of yourself is the first step, and then find a pillow that matches. Yes, side sleeping specifically. So these ones, they have a dent in the middle for your back. When you roll to the side, you'll be sleeping on the side, so they have that kind of shape to them. And the thing is, I guess you just have to try it. This pupil says that a lot of them are on sale or return. If she doesn't like them, she can return them. So that's worth checking out, and let us know what you find. James, who was the nicest famous person I've met? I don't know. Let me check. The nicest famous person I've met, Tilda Swinton springs to mind instantly. Gracious and good. Sorry? Dr. Robert. Oh, he's lovely. Yeah, he's a bit scary. Robyn Hitchcock. Oh, my goodness. It's very hard. I think everybody falls in love with Robyn Hitchcock when they meet him. He's just like, yeah, effortless cool. Men and women. I mean, you go to his gigs and these men, middle-aged men, are all staring at him adoringly. Yeah. Oh, Lindsay DePaul, talk about her. She was a force of nature. Um, yeah, don't spring to mind. Who else, Chris? Neil Neil Whitmore. Neil Hex. Oh my gosh, he could talk for Britain. There's a story. He is lovely. And when I was ligging at Shepherd's Bush when my dad did the last Mark Bolan gig there, he came straight over and said, "How are you doing? I hear you talking, teaching the Alexander technique now and all this." Of course, he's in a band with Glenn Matlock, James Lowe, who we knew as a kiddie, and Chris Musto, who we played with in the Decades band. So small world, yeah. Bowie was lovely. I mean, yeah, it's like meeting a shy. He's got the same smile as Glenn Gregory, that kind of like, hello, I could tear your limbs off at any time, but ever so charming. Yeah, yeah. Midge, oh my goodness, another. I have crushes on these people. Like they're not sexual crushes. They're just like total hero worship. Midge came. I flipped my lid when I saw he was on the guest list for our Bath show. And I said, I just have to say hello. I have to say hello because we'd already talked on the phone over lockdown and things like that. What was that? But that was after. No, that was after. He came in and I said, "Oh, hi Jess, nice to meet you. How's that organ working out for you?" I'm like, "Ah." And I introduced him to Tony, and he was like, "Oh, hello, nice to meet you." I said, "Tony, this is Midge Ure." "Oh, right. Hi. Worst famous person I've ever met. Worst famous person I've never met. Van Morrison, I guess, who had his back turned to us when we were at George's house for the Bulgarian party. Oh dear. Well, anyway, it's all in the book. I'm going to sign off because we've got about 15 minutes till we go live again. I'm going to get sued if I keep talking. Sam, yes, I know. Skype is a terrible loss. I think Teams might be the way forward, although we failed to have a meeting on Teams the other day, didn't we? The person who set up the meeting couldn't get into his own meeting. Anyway, I think we'll probably have to do this again because, it's been fun. It's been fun. The answers are in my book. So when you get your books that you can order through my website and be redirected to Square sites, you get the book and the album, get some other albums and stuff while you're at it because they're all there, friends, family. And once you read it, let me know what you think. And if you have more questions, then do ping them my way. You can keep asking questions when we go live in half an hour as well, and I'll be happy to answer. Oh, it's great fun. Really good fun. Thanks for showing up, guys. I'm going to say ta-da, toodly pip now. Bye. Except I don't know how to press stop on this. Chris is going to walk through. Give him a wave, Chris. All right. Bye.